Good evening, Dr. Shaw and fellow coursemates. Today's presentation concerns recidivism and how it can be lowered positively when race is considered. For this presentation, I am only focusing on two races. The racial terms I am using are based on the classification system of the 2020 census. Here is the overview of our topic. I will explain critical race theory about my questions that highlights an essential aspect of the research question. Next, I will give the research question and you will be able to see how it ties into the theory. Then I will present my proposal on why it would be essential to pursue my research question. The next segment will focus on persuading others to use my results to advance the understanding of my study. Finally, I will describe the next steps for this research question, as long as with a reference page. It is important to note that the environment affects a person's behavior. Remember this as we progress through the presentation. Critical race theory has three components that explain systematic racism, the social context of race, and the intersectionality of inequality in the criminal justice system, CJS for short. This theory aims to analyze and address various issues within the CJS. It is better to look at the issue from a biased lens instead of being colorblind and not recognizing the racial disparity. Is there equality when it comes to the race of an offender in an alternative to incarceration program? This presentation will highlight some of the results from the empirical studies that show an offender may be plagued by continual recidivism when they are denied the opportunity to partake in an alternative incarceration program. It has taken the last 6 weeks to produce this question as each of my topics focused on a broader issue. The urgency of this research cannot be overstated as it directly impacts the lives of those within the criminal justice system. The importance of pursuing this question revolves around a few aspects. Pursuing the question shows that there is an institutional problem within racial disparity and recidivism, especially when the majority of news stories deal with crime reporting, even more so when the offender is a juvenile in a neighborhood with few positive social outlets for the youth. ATI programs are shown to reduce this problem as they provide a different avenue that does not focus on financial strains. It focuses on getting the offenders the help they need to become better citizens. In some cases, they become peer support for others. The one ethnic group that faces more cases of incarceration and is more likely to recidivate is the black population. This is a concern as Baber mentions that the criminal justice system overrepresents the black population in terms of criminality and is most likely to fail ATI programs. This question explores the necessity of knowing why this population is overrepresented when they are not the majority of the American population. Whether the data is in a numerical or nominal format, there is still an apparent racial disparity. It can be challenging when researchers try to decipher the results of any study. My best advice is for the researchers to understand four principles. The first principle is to look at the intergroup dynamics of the offenders. In English, this means the researchers to focus on the numerical data collected from the participants in research studies and compare the representation of each race. This would help them understand the possible purposive sampling methods. When it comes to peer influences, other people need to focus on the aspect of whether the offender could benefit from an ATI program or do better in the prison system. This means that the segregated populations have a negative influence on people. Of course, the researchers could explore the subtopic on race in detail and see if there is a difference between natural and controlled segregation. Substance abuse disorder treatment is a concern as people in the CGS are more likely is a concern as people in the CGS are people who have a substance abuse as one of their charges. I worked in a community correctional facility where the majority of clients had charges on them for meth, cocaine, and marijuana trafficking, including the use of these drugs. Buchanan and others mentioned that the majority of the people receiving substance abuse treatment are Caucasian. This includes a majority of success stories. Please take a good look at the screen and listen to my words. Recidivism is a problem that needs to be reduced. It cannot be fully solved, as there will always be offenders who are career criminals or are facing marginalization. But following steps beyond my research will be plentiful. I propose that fellow researchers look at what type of bias is present when clients with substance abuse disorder are given treatment. It is essential to see if the clients are being singled out by race or by a certain level of supervisory index scores. So it would be beneficial if a mixed methods experiment is designed where the participant is given a survey based on the treatment options and sentencing options they received when getting into trouble. Lastly, I suggest that the researchers do not engage in purposive sampling. This research style is presented in some of my sources as it focuses mostly on Caucasian participants. What this research does is oversaturate the number of people incarcerated by race. The newer research needs to focus on the population of the people getting an ATI program based on a smaller sample. It is crucial that our research measures are unbiased, as this ensures the fairness and accuracy of our findings. To conclude, we know that recidivism is a problem that needs to be addressed differently. My suggestion is to use the principles of critical race theory, as the theory looks at the CJS as being a proponent of systematic racism. Some researchers believe that the CJS is colorblind. However, if that were the case, the current research would not address the issue of racial disparity. More whites are likely to do well in a substance abuse treatment program than blacks, as they are more likely not to have the support they need for the program or given the program option. In the end, the newer researchers need to look at the type of study conducted and the sampling techniques to see if the population collected is biased sampled methods or if it is a random sample. This includes having an adequate population representation of the CJS population. These are the references. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, as you can find it on YouTube.